What's up, everybody? You're about to listen to another episode of the VarsityAZ podcast, covering all things high school athletics in the state of Arizona. Now, this is a partnership between ArizonaSportsCast.com and ArizonaVarsity.com. So to support us, you can do one of two things. You can subscribe to Arizona Sportscast on iTunes. It's absolutely free. You'll get all of the podcasts that come out directly to you, whether it's about Arizona high school sports, Arizona State Sun Devils, Phoenix Suns, Arizona Cardinals, and more. The other thing you can do is it would be a huge help to us if you subscribe to ArizonaVarsity.com. We are a partner website. We're an affiliate website of Rivals.com. So a subscription to Arizona Varsity gives you access to every Rivals website in the entire country. You're able to read all of that great content. Anything that you do to help us as far as subscribing, which I believe costs about $8.33 a month with an annual subscription, goes to help my efforts, Chili's efforts, Cody Cameron, Alex Simpson, Chris Eaton at Gridiron Arizona, the whole crew. It helps us bring you all sorts of high school football and basketball coverage from around the state. Thank you so much for listening, and here comes another episode of the VarsityAZ podcast.
VarsityAZ Sportscast coming to you from Casa Grande, Arizona, 10:16 p.m. Just got done watching Casa Grande, 33-21 victory over Walden Grove. Cody Cameron, Alex Simpson, and joining us from King of the Game, Charles Wilson. Charles Wilson was sharing the sideline with us tonight at Casa Grande. Like I said, 33-21 victory over Walden Grove. Charles, first of all, thanks for joining us, man.
Cody, thanks for having me here, man. It's an honor. Every time I see you at a game, I know it's a huge game. So
hey, we already know and we keep those sidelines popping, man. We always have a good time out there, and so please let the listeners know a little bit about yourself, Charles, and what is King of the Game.
So King of the Game initially started as Sportalytics. Initially, the plan was to create a business where we would have a universal evaluation where, again, you could have a unbiased scale to evaluate players. In order to market the business, I ended up making highlights, and unfortunately and fortunately, parents and players started gravitating more towards the highlights. I ended up changing the business model, and then King of the Game was born.
Nick, I remember the Sportalytics days, and just 2 years ago,
yes,
the Sportalytics days and that, and we've seen some phenomenal talent the last 2 years, a lot of Power 5 quarterbacks, and I know you're close to Spencer Rattler, one of those quarterbacks in the entire country last season.
Yes.
And just watching, I know you watched him grow from freshman year to senior year, and you've seen a lot of these kids grow throughout their high school careers, and now a lot of them are playing Power 5, big-time college football here. And what are some of the things that, because you are a Northern California guy, a Bay Area guy, in Northern California, heck, it's us right here, man.
San Jose,
this is right there, man. And but what makes this state so special when it comes to Arizona high school football with teams and individual players?
Well, just in general, Arizona gets a bad rap. Again, I come from California, so in my high school days, if you told me Arizona football had good players, I would laugh, which is what people are doing now until they start seeing the Spencer Rattlers, the Jack Millers, the Brendan Rises, the Keely Ringos. And even those guys, when you talk to people from California, Texas, Florida, they don't give them any credit because they're saying, oh, well, they're playing people from Arizona, until they start going to the national events and start lighting people up, a la Spencer Rattler, Elite 11 MVP.
Mm-hmm. I think you're interesting, Charles, because I think a lot of people who do what you do, or who pretend or try to do what you do and replicate, just going out and filming five-star players, because anybody can grab a camcorder and go film the Jake Smiths of the world or the Spencer Rattlers and go follow those guys. But I've seen you personally go to so many JV and freshman games and see the class of 2023s and the class of 2022s, which are now sophomores now. Not a lot of people do that. I can maybe count on one hand media members and people who do what we do go do that. Heck, myself, I've never watched a freshman football game here, and you just got done watching Red Mountain and telling me a bunch about a 2023 prospects. Why is that something that you enjoyed doing?
Well, I mean, just when you're covering high school sports, it's always important to know who's up next. And a lot of my followers are the younger kids, some of the middle schoolers that are just joining into high schools. They reach out to me and tell me, hey, I need to come check out their games. And again, just to have, certain conversations with you, Ralph, Chili, Alex. It's cool to say, these are some of the guys that are freshmen that, that maybe somebody else hasn't seen. And plus, it helps me develop a relationship with them. So, for example, Spencer Rattler, when I first started in 2015, I randomly went to a Pinnacle game versus Mountain View Mesa, Mountain View, the Toros. And then I seen this quarterback that was lighting the field up that ended up becoming a cool little relationship to where, we're friends. I do his commitment video to Oklahoma. And then, a few months ago, he was at my wedding with his family. So, I mean, it's all about creating those relationships, and that's big for me.
That's a perfect segue, Charles, because the next thing I want to talk about was getting rapport with athletes. And anytime you interview athletes, high school stage, college stage, the NFL stage, you're just going to get better content, better interviews, better footage when you actually know the person. When you go the extra step and talk to these people just like human beings, and you have some of the best rapport with most of these athletes out of anybody in the state, not just on Twitter, but interacting with them on social media all the time. And then we're at these games. I mean, a lot of these guys look up to you and homies. How important is that to gain that relationship and that trust with these athletes?
It's very important. I mean, when you think about it, a lot of these student athletes, most of the time when people are talking to them, they're talking to them about sports. For me, it's also to get to know who they are, meet their parents, see how they're doing in school. If anything messes up, they need somebody there as a friend to help tell them the truth. Like, hey, this needs to get done. Make sure you stay on top of this. But, I know when I was an athlete, it was kind of hard to connect with other people because most of the people that are covering, when I was in high school, were a lot older. Now, I'm not saying I'm near where their age is at, but I know how to talk to them to where, it's more. They're more than a person when I talk to them.
And I feel the same way. And all three of us sitting here, Alex Simpson, Cody Cameron, Charles Wilson, from King of the Game, we all play the sport of football. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of journalists, not every single journalist, but I know, especially in my area, a lot of the journalists, I don't know if they've ever played it down. Mm-hmm. And you kind of get that disconnect when you talk to a lot of reporters who, when they ask you the same question, like the worst question you possibly ever ask somebody, even when you win the game, is, in my opinion, is like, well, how do you feel? I always hear reporters ask someone who just lost a football game, well, how does this make you feel? Well, how do you think it's going to make me feel? I always hear that question being asked, and I don't see a lot of it's a lot of yes or no questions, and nothing to do with analyzing the game, evaluating the game, breaking down the game. And you do a good job of that because you played the game, and I think that is very key when you're getting rapport with an athlete. Like you said, it's just more than a game,
And one thing I know, and I'm glad you said that, because I try not to interview players after they lost, but I do talk to players. So, again, example, Spencer Rattler. I went to, during his first 3 years, his first 2 years in the playoffs, he lost to Brophy. And then his third year, his junior year, he ended up in a shootout with Chandler. Probably one of the best games I've seen. And it's not one of those situations where I just walk away. I go up to him, hey, man, good game, but make sure you keep your head high. Next year you guys got them. And it's good to still talk to them and let them know, hey, I'm still supporting you. Because a lot of these kids, when they play, they lose, and then they just, people just disappear, right? So let them know, hey, you care about them. You're still there with them. You still rock with them through the highs and lows.
Yep, and you're there from day one. You're there for all the days. That's the important thing now, especially once these kids leave the state. I always tell these kids, we're going to support you. I don't care where you go. I don't care if you go to ASU. I don't care if you go to Cal. I don't care if you don't play college football at all. We'll still be there for you and supporting you anyway. And but yourself, man, I mean, you're very active on Twitter, very active on Instagram. Got a great YouTube channel. You're starting to vlog everyday lives. I see you doing your thing on these half marathons and your 5Ks and everything like that, which is awesome. And you got a huge project that is coming up very shortly, an opportunity that I know thousands of people and recruiting analysts and college football coaches from big-time programs will be looking forward to this. What do you got in the making, man?
Correct, yeah. So there's a receiver in Chandler that goes to Hamilton. You guys might have heard of him, Brendan Rice. A few months ago, before or right after the end of the season, he reached out to me asking if I could do his commitment video. Initially, the talks kind of broke down, but then he came back a couple of months ago and said, "Yeah, let's. I'm ready to do this." Now he's still taking his visits, so he hasn't told me where he was going. Even if he did, I wouldn't say anything. So before Spencer committed and I did his commitment video, I knew probably like a month and a half, in advance. But no one knew until. I mean, people had a guess, but no one knew until it made it official. Brendan Rice asked me to do his commitment video, so I'm super excited about that. It's a huge project, and I can't ask for anything more.
And we're sitting in a couch in a really nice house in Casa
Yes.
Grande at 10:26 p.m. after watching Casa Grande beat Walden Grove. Cody Cameron, Alex Simpson, Charles Wilson from King of the Game joining us tonight. Thank you so much, Charles. And this is another edition of the AZ Sportscast, wrapping up with the Arizona Varsity crew. Until next time.
I've been looking for the map that leads me home. I've been stumbling on